I'm Jack Kaiser from Chippewa Valley Progressive Voices. I'm sitting with Kelly Christianson, who's the Executive Officer of Eau Claire Interfaith Hospitality Network, which operates the Beacon House at the corner of Lake and Barstow Street. And we're here to talk with her about all the programs the Interfaith Hospitality Network operates. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, good afternoon.
Well, let's start off. Tell us what the Eau Claire Interfaith Hospitality Network is, including who started it, when it started, and giving us a little history on it.
Yeah, well, we got started in this community back in 1995, so a little over 20 years ago. We are part of a national organization called Family Promise, and the premise behind Family Promise is church families helping homeless families. And so we rallied the faith-based community several years ago, got about 20 congregations involved, and our families would go into churches at night. Those volunteers from the churches would provide a hot meal, actually spend the night with our families in the churches. Families would sleep in Sunday school rooms, multi-purpose rooms, wherever there was room in that congregation. In the morning they'd get a breakfast, sack lunch, kids would go to school, adults would go to work, and then at night they'd come back in the church and do it all over again. And then come Sunday they would pack up all their belongings and move on to the next congregation. So after doing that for a few years, our volunteers, our board of directors, our staff said there's got to be a better way. So in late 1999, we bought our current location where the Beacon House is, fully renovated it. In May of 2001, we moved in. We were able to increase our capacity from 4 families to 6, and we pretty much have been full ever since about 2008, almost every day. We are at capacity. So, but the really cool thing is our congregation stayed connected. They still provide all of the evening meals for our families. They still staff our building from 8:30 at night till 7:30 in the morning. So we had 7,000 volunteer hours a year. 13,000 meals are provided annually. And we literally spent $0 in 2015 on food to feed 6 families 3 meals a day because our volunteers bring all that in.
Let's talk about your role in combating homelessness in Eau Claire. And maybe the easiest way is compare your clients with the clients of Sojourner House right across the street from you.
Sure. Well, Sojourner is great neighbors. We work really well together, but they work with individuals, individual adults, and we work with families with children. And so specifically, the folks that come into our shelter have to have children, and that's why we go to work every day, is to make sure that these kids that are homeless have a safe place to stay.
Where does your funding come from?
We get funding at all levels of government, city, county, state, and federal. Then we get some funding from United Way, and a lot of funding from our community in terms of individuals, corporations, businesses, churches, and then fundraisers that we do.
At some point, I understand Interfaith Hospitality Network realized that there was more to combating homelessness than just giving people temporary shelter.
You know, if you're sleeping in your car or a shed or something like that, getting out of that element is a good thing. And so obviously Beacon House is very important, but you know, I think if you would ask any of us that are intimately involved with the organization would say that the supportive services that we provide afterwards are probably the most important in terms of trying to break that cycle of homelessness for these kids. Helping them go from homelessness to not being homeless anymore, to being housed is really what we're all about.
We'll spend another segment talking entirely about that. And we'll also talk about what brings a family to need your services. What is the typical size of a family at Beacon House?
Yeah, the average family size is just over 3. I think it's 3.2. And so typically a single mom with 2 kids is what we see.
Do you have some atypical family groups?
We certainly do. You know, sometimes we will have larger families, obviously. We have intact families, you know, mom, dad, and kids. We have blended families, yours, mine, and our kids. We have 3 generational families. I've had a mom with kids and mom's sister, you know, come in. So as long as we can define that family and define that family unit, and make the connections with the relationship, we'll work with them as a family unit.
Eau Claire Interfaith Hospitality Network was started through the actions of diverse group of about 20 different congregations, and those congregations continue to stay active in providing tens of thousands of hours and much of your funding. Yeah. What is the policy regarding the mixture of religion and your services at the Beacon House?
Well, the religious part kind of ends at the volunteer level. That's just happens to be where we get our volunteers from. But there is no religious requirement to be within our organization. If people are interested in going to church or worshiping, we will work with those families and try to get them wherever they want to go to make that happen. But there's no proselytizing, over dinner or whatever. Sometimes the volunteers will maybe do a prayer, but if you don't want to pray, you can just sit quietly and until everybody is done. But for the most part, we do Christmas. We have a Christmas tree. We do Easter. But in terms of religious, proselytizing, that does not happen.
And you're open to people of all faiths or even no faith?
Absolutely, absolutely. There is no requirement at that level.
I think that pretty much wraps up this segment, but would you be willing to come back and talk to me about some of the more specific programs and situations that are relevant to what you do?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kelly.